Welcome crowd of people and welcome to another I don't know who need for hear this reading. One sec, good Sunday. Just smudging off the cards them, cleaning them, ready for this week's reading. So first me I go shuffle as usual, shuffle up the pack, shuffle up the pack. And this reading is going to be for especially tomorrow is a full moon. I believe it's in Scorpio. Don't quote me, but I do think so. And so as I like to do for the full moons and new moons. It won't be all the time, I'm just making you know, but for now I'm just checking something out because I want to be able to document it so I can look back and see how accurate it was. Does that make sense? Alright, boom boom. So let's shuffle. Let's place the cards. Move my accoutrements a little bit, then I can make room for the cards to be in the shot, innit? I don't know. So it's there. Overall energy is the Page of Swords. Let's turn the cards over. So we have the 8 of Coins in reverse, the 3 of Cups, the King of Cups, the Sun. Nice. It's good because we've had the sunlight out for a little while still. 2 of Cups, the Wheel of Fortune in reverse. What's his name? It's in French. Is it the Emperor? Hold on. 1 second. Le Pape. To my French speakers out there, I know it's not the Fool. The Hierophant. Alright. The 9 of Wands in reverse. Interesting. And the Queen of Swords in reverse. So let me run the intro real quick. Okay, so let's get into this reading then. We could start off. So past, present, future, also past, present, future, overall energy. Alright, boom. So like the 8 of Pentacles or 8 of Coins reverse means that even if you're not, whether you're like in the mood to roll your sleeves up and get your elbows dirty and that ashy and that and put the work in, whether you feel like it or not, if you want to be like successful and get things done, like, okay, to sum it up, a phrase that my grandma used to say is, if you want something, your nose have to run. If you want the thing, you have to put in the work for it. You get what I mean? So whether you feel like it or not, that's what it is. So you need to play your part. You need to really understand nothing's not free. You get what I mean? Yeah, you might have a bit of luck, but really to get where you want, you have to kind of put in something. Don't wait for somebody else to do it. Be prepared to like say, you know what, if the bin stinks, don't be talking about how the bin stinks and the you get what I mean, the ruminations and what that means for the psyche of instincts. Get up, yeah, put a knot in it and put the fucking bin out. Okay, I said it. Alright, that kind of thing. Good old fashioned work, don't hurt nobody. Obviously don't kill out yourself. The fact that the card's reversed means that the work's just a toops less, but you have to put the work in nonetheless to get out what you want. And you'll also benefit from it, like by putting in that work, it will show you so much more than, you know what I mean, like, oh, okay, you gotta make lists, prioritize, work through the list, and you, once you kind of see the message it for, like the outcome, you'll be glad that you put in that work. You get what I'm saying? Alright, if you're looking for work at the moment, you have to try and impress people, like by showing them what you're capable of. Sometimes, you know, it's not the person who's like the big established person. Sometimes people be looking and thinking, yo, this little new jack here, you know, they might not know nothing, but I can see them putting in the work. I can show them the rest, or I can show them the role, but they've already got what they need in terms of putting in the work. You get me? So just give it your best and give it your all. From you can go to bed saying that, yeah, I gave it everything. Should be nice. You get what I'm saying? That's the energy that it's giving. Alright, let's move on to the Three of Cups here, which means that it's supposed to be like a card that speaks to reunions. May not necessarily be like in a romantic sense, but I guess an example of this would be like things are opening up a little bit now. People's going for Sunday brunches, booking up in the park, and you know, people can just about visit family if the group's not too big. So it like feels like getting together, which kind of would have said to me the 12th was when things opened up here. So this past feels quite recent, if that makes sense. Things should be going okay. At least one of the reunions that you have should be pleasant and whatnot. Like a celebration, it could also mean as well, either for you or somebody that you care about. Like, I don't know, a baby shower or a wedding or something, which would be really nice at the moment. But I won't get into all of that. It should be like a good omen with regards to like work and money should be coming in. Some people might be finding themselves be getting either up for promotion or a little extra money coming in from a hustle that they may be developed during lockdown or whatnot. That's the kind of energy that the Three of Cups is giving, and just, you know, keep going. Look at your health, maybe increase a little bit more exercise, or it could be more rest. Just kind of understand what you need. You get me? Hold on, I'm just checking the battery. We're good. Alright, so let's move on to Uncle, King of Cups. Usually like a balanced kind of, usually this card indicates like a balance of masculine and feminine energy. Usually like the positive aspects of both. Sometimes can speak to an actual person in your life, and tends to who may have hair on the lighter end of the spectrum. So shouts out to all my silver foxes. A lot of people's head did turn grey and silver in the during the pancetta. So there's more of us. Join the club. Join the club. I shouldn't take the piddle. Moving on, but obviously a lighter haired gentleman might be older, which is why I said the silver fox, and I call him Uncle. That's how I refer to him. And he represents kindness and compassion, pure true love, like not like as in romantic love necessarily, but you know, like, you know when you get them cool benevolent uncles that's like, yo, you know what, come let me take you out to, like, let's go for a drive and pick up a, you know, that kind of energy there. Just like that really cool man that's older than you that just is just being kind because they like you. Like, yeah, I can't explain it better than that, but a really just a nice man. And if it's like to do with work and that, it could be like a male boss or co-worker who kind of looks out for you and nudges things in the right direction for you. Ask them for support, or guidance and mentorship if you need that. If you're struggling with something, it might be that they can kind of give you some advice or some pointers. It might be where you're looking up, I don't know, Bitcoin or something, and they know a few things. Oh yeah, my nephew does that, or my son's into that. Yeah, I might put you in touch. Do you get what I mean? Like, that kind of energy is definitely what he's giving. Alright, and then moving on to the sun, which is really nice and has been lovely. The last few days here has been like, it hasn't been like warm, but there's been sunlight, and it's been such a game changer. I cannot tell you how much. It's been absolutely lovely. And this is in the present now, so when the sun shows up, you're likely to feel a bit more free than you have done in probably a while. It's a great time to take a little, maybe, well, for us, be a staycation in it, experience things, just to kind of recharge and feel revitalized and refresh up. You get me? Things should be going kind of well, ticking over. You're probably getting back into the swing of things and finding that, okay, things may not be perfect, and you're finding your way, but you're being able to cope. Don't lose focus though. Money's not completely high on the list normally when this card shows up, but it's a good time to socialize, network, start to build, like, with that little, you know, when everybody just feels a bit more better when the sun's out. It might be that you need to go like a little socially distanced networking event. You might bump into somebody who, okay, you connect with them and they got sort of sensible to tell you right. So I would say the sun's a good indicator of that. For those of us looking for work and things like that, it could be that the right opportunity is just around the corner, but keep your ego under control, because the sun likes to shine in front of everybody and show off a little bit. So keep your ego under control. If you're working on a project with somebody, or you are you've been inspired by something, be sure to, even if the person on the project only did a few bits and you did the lion's share, remember to shout them out. Because that could be the person that gets promoted and remembers that, yeah, you was fair, and calls you, like, reaches a hand back to you. Does that make sense? And you never know, so just give. Everybody likes their flowers, and it give people their flowers. Simple as. Alright, boom. So let's be moving on to the Two of Cups in the middle. Normally talks about a romantic partnership and whatnot, but that's not like the only thing that it refers to. I'm guessing that people are getting out again. People are realizing that excuse me, they didn't necessarily like to be with themselves. They might have, realized a relationship come to its end or something and want to get back together post panachetta. So it could be that, but it also like talks to balance, friendship, sharing. It's like two halves. There's something just relational about this card, and because it's emotional as well, saying that you should be feeling or being shown that you're loved, feeling cared for, them kind of vibes there, and that's all to the good. If it's about love and things like that, talks to like about a balanced partnership. And if you are looking, it's a signal that things are likely somebody nice. Relax yourself, don't kill up yourself, because somebody nice might be around the corner. So just keep your eyes kind of open, but do what you're doing. Remember I said it's next to this one, which is like, that's very cute. Alright, then we've got the Wheel of Fortune in reversed. When it's so normally when it's upright, the Wheel of Fortune says that situations in life are going to be changing. It represents change, like, when people say your fortunes change, and it's normally it's positive. Often change is difficult, but is very much needed a lot of the time, and without change things can stagnate and stay the same. Does that make sense? And sometimes like changes can be traumatic, especially if it's our comfort zone. Excuse me, let me drink some water. I understand. Sometimes the changes can be quite traumatic, especially if staying the same as your comfort zone. If you need help with dealing with those changes, ask, because you need to work out what and where your support system is. Sometimes it's not where you think it is, but if you need help and support, ask. Don't try to go things alone. Don't try and like fight it, because actually one of the things that we are guaranteed is changed. When this card is in reverse, it may not point to something like obvious like it is in the upright version. So for instance, in the upright version it could be like, I don't know, winning on the scratch off, but when it's upright. But when it's reversed, it could be like, oh, you know what, you got a few quid back on your tax return that you wasn't expecting, and that was really helpful because you had another bill coming out. Do you get what I mean? That's kind of like Wheel of Fortune in reversed energy and what it might be giving. But it's also saying that no matter how bad things are, like, it's alright because it will pass. You get me? Because the wheel of fortune keeps turning. So at the minute it's down, so you know the next time it turns for you, it's going to be turning upwards. And it's just that, it's just the ebb and flow of life. Because if, I don't know if you can see it, but see at the bottom of the card, it's got like two snakes that are turning and whatnot, and one animal's climbing up, one animal's climbing down, with the winged sphinx on the top. So it's just basically saying life's like a roller coaster, you just got to ride it, and you'll kind of keep going, and the ebb and flow changes, and at some point you'll see yourself coming out the other side when your fortunes change. But it's not necessarily a bad thing, it's just an indication of change, which then is interesting because it leads on to the Hierophant, which is about doing the right thing, kind of following the protocols. But when it's reversed, like, basically sometimes it can be kind of confusing about what the right thing is, and if it is, you need to kind of dig and find out. So it could be that, for instance, the Wheel of Fortune could say that the house that you thought was a long-term lease, maybe the landlords had to sell quickly. So now you've got to go and find like what the protocols are, what the rules are for you as a tenant who's got to move quickly before your lease has ended due to circumstances, to kind of find out what that is as an example, and also find out what's right for you. You get what I'm saying? What are your options? What is the protocol in this situation? How do I manage it? And it's basically this card in reverse, the Hierophant in reverse, can often talk to people not fully understanding where you're coming from, and maybe don't understand why you think the way you're doing things is the right way, etc. Don't always pressure yourself for people to get where you're coming from. They'll get it in their own time. If you know you're doing the right thing, so it's back to that right thing energy. If you know you're doing the right thing, don't stop doing the right thing because somebody don't get why you're doing the right thing. Make them do what you're doing and they will catch up in their time, because not everybody gets things in the same time, and that's okay. So in terms of work and things like that, you could be getting some solid advice from mentors and people like that, some people that know what they're doing. But when it's reversed, sometimes you might need to find yourself agreeing to disagree, not to be combative or combative, whichever the word is. Not just to be like an idiot and be beefing just for the sake of beefing, but simply because, you know what, their way of doing things is tried and tested and true. But just like you can't wait for others to catch up and understand what you're doing, it's the same as you can't wait for them to catch up and understand why you're doing things, even though their way of doing it has worked for them. You know what's right for you, so don't necessarily let somebody else's modality of doing things affect how you're going to do it, for the simple fact they're not you and you're not them. Their circumstances may be way different from yours, so the way they approach something may be right for them but may not necessarily be right for you. For instance, if they're a homeowner, which obviously the baby boomer generation, who have that kind of education and experience, they will know about how to flip equity and, you know, have a little nest egg and this and that, right? So they may see an opportunity come up and they may, I don't know, refinance the house in order to release some equity from the house in order to invest in this opportunity. But if you're not from the baby boomer generation, if your generation may be X, you might be able to manage it. But some Gen X, some Gen Z, millennials and this and that, it's a lot more difficult to be on the housing ladder. So you may not necessarily have a house to refinance, to release equity from, so you may need to do it like you may have Bitcoin, so you would need to get your equity from Bitcoin. So it is like, okay, there might be a main project or issue, but the way to go about it, what might have been the status quo and the way to do things, as the Hierophant indicates, for them may slightly differ from you. And even though it's about doing the right thing, do the right thing ultimately for you. So I just wanted to clarify that a little bit, and I think in pictures in it. So just try to find examples where I can. So then next comes to 9 of Wands reversed. Now, even as much as, so the way I interpreted it wasn't actually like what the actual meaning of the card is. I remember I was looking visually on the interpretation part, but actually what the 9 of Wands in reverse indicates is, if you think about it, starting from the Ace of Wands, Ace 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, that means you've been putting in the work, blood. So by the time you get to 9, you're bloody exhausted, fam. So it might mean that your wheel of fortune has changed. You've been following the rules and that. At this point, you've been putting in loads of work. You might need some kindness, gentleness, a bit of rest and nurturing. Understand your strengths, understand the difference between kindness and weakness, but like you have to show kindness as well here, which for some people they find it difficult to do, especially when they're under pressure. But remember, there's this nice balanced emotional energy to follow on from. So nurture, be kind, be nice, understand. You don't have to be strong all the time. All things being said, there should be at least 2 or 3 people in your life that can pick up some of the slack for you when you're exhausted. If they're there watching you shoulder the burden the whole time, maybe they're not the most helpful people for what it is that you're trying to do, but you need to ensure that you be kind, and then be kind to others as well. Basically, reflect the kindness you need to others. If they're not reflecting it back, then that answers what you need to know, isn't it? So it's basically whether it's in general, with work, with love, you might be convinced that you're completely right upon something and your partner's wrong about something when this card appears, and it might be the case, but you can catch more flies with sugar than you can with doo-doo. Even that way, be nice about it, like see what's going on with them. Just kindness is the key here, and that's as much as I can say. There's a lot of work going on, so remember to make sure you get rest, make sure copper massage, do some meditation, to help to manage everything else. Make sense? Capish? Alright, Zine. So we move to the Queen of Swords, who again could be when you get like the royals, they can indicate an actual person in your life. If it is an actual person, she might not be the kind of woman in your life. She could have dark hair, dark eyes, and you'd want to stay on her good side if you can, because she could sometimes, without meaning it, block important things from getting accomplished. Do you get what I mean? She's like, imagine like, you know, you got that auntie who's like that auntie that like didn't have kids because she just wasn't bothered about being tied down and things like that. And sometimes she can be a bit harsh because she doesn't have to think about, okay, if I want to move and do something, think about the babysitter and the this and the that. She can just get up and go. So she doesn't have that kind of warmth. But not only that, sometimes she can be a bit chaotic, and it can actually cause your thing to get blocked. And if it's not an actual person, the card itself represents like blockages that could occur. So in the reverse, the Queen of Swords can speak to stumbling blocks. It's interesting, I'm finding that even as I'm talking about her, like it's almost like I've got a mouthful of porridge, boss, and you know, thick porridge too. Let me put tea back my teeth. And it's usually blocks that are put in or you know, created by other people besides you, but sometimes it can be the ones that you're creating, but overall it talks to blockages that people put. So this might not be a good time to be telling people about things that you're planning and what you're doing. Tell them when you've done it, man, and then that way their energy can't really block what you're doing, you see me? She can kind of indicate communication issues at work. It could be between people, or it can be with things like computers and information being like misunderstood or whatnot. So for instance, it could be where you're supposed to send an email to confirm that you've understood something, or an update to certain terms and conditions or whatnot, and by accident the email ain't sent. Bear in mind that we've got a retrograde, the pre-shadow coming up soon, so it could be a good time to keep an eye out for things like that. If you do find that you've been misunderstood or misinterpreted, take your time to explain yourself like clearly, thoroughly, and make sure that you have heard. Make sure that you have understood what's going on as well. Like, don't make assumptions, because as my grandma used to say, assumption as to assume make a ass out of you and me. You know, like that. Basically, don't assume when you can open your mouth and ask. Don't assume, because you can't think for people and you don't know what they're thinking. You can't know what somebody's thinking more than they can know. The only thing is, you can trust that the relationship is good enough that they can tell you exactly what they're thinking. Does that make sense? Alright, boom bam. Which then leads us to this young man here, Page of Swords in the upright, which is the overall energy for the reading. And the Page of Swords, like all court cards, can sometimes stand for a literal person. Remember we were saying that? So that'd be like, if this is uncle, this would be like nephew, you get me? This would be auntie. Yeah, auntie, because that's king and queen. Nephew. The knight, I think, would be like, that's like your age mate. You get what I'm saying? But back to the Page of Knights. It can stand for a literal person. You could be younger, usually darker hair, on the darker end of the spectrum. But if it's not an actual person, energetically he can speak about messages coming in. Basically, it could be messages that you don't, that it may not what you was hoping to hear. Remember, she comes with communication issues, so listen out for she. Like, I think these two are connected. One up, one down. Anywho, it could be saying that you're pushing too hard, too fast. It could be stepping on toes of others. Remember, it could be Wheel of Fortune has changed for you. You need to be going back and getting things straight, needing a nurture, maybe not listening, not doing it. Communication issues arise, which means that you're kind of brassing up people around you because you're stressed. You get what I'm saying? Basically, this might be a good time to take some constructive criticism. You know, it might actually give you an understanding of who in your circle is trustworthy enough to not be nice, and not be a bitch either, like not rip you to shreds, but say, you know what, when you do this it ain't the one, you know, or not even that, because there's feelings, yeah, which is one thing. When you do this it makes me feel. However, there could be a thing of, when you do this is how it slows down, blocks, stops, you know, diverts the course of what it is that you're trying to get done. So, you know, people need to be accepted, like, and be open to kind of analysing and check out, how do you accept criticism, constructive criticism. You're the kind of person that can take it and relish it and like use it to become better, or you're the kind of person that can't take being criticised, can't say sorry, you know, all the things. So that's something worthwhile checking out as well. But at the same time, if you can receive that, it might be a game changer for you, and also you're likely to find yourself with a great deal of mental and physical energy now. So use it wisely. Don't be using it to kind of like gas up and talk about you going to the gym 11 times and there's members of your team that's recovering from corona and they mash up crackers. Like, don't be a dickhead. Like, that's the only way I can really say it to you. Use it wisely. You may soon be dealing with someone or some kind of conflict at work, if you're currently employed, and if you're looking, you might need to like behave with a great deal of humility. Like, remember, which card was it? I think it was this card that was saying be humble, like if you're looking for work. Like, chill, like you're not in charge, and that's okay. Sometimes it's nice to not be in charge, you know. It's wonderful, you get me? So just let somebody else be in charge and you just do the part that you need to do. Not every day in charge, not every day the boss. Sometimes humble, lead from behind, you get what I mean, and be open to doing that, okay? Because if you understand that actually if you're not prepared to do that, what happens is more and more gets piled onto you and the pressure's there. Catch it. Alright, boom. So don't put yourself down, but take your time. This is not your business. You're just somebody hired to work there at the moment, and kind of understand that and be cool with it. It's alright. When it comes to contracts, be cautious, have your eyes open, like take it away, have a look at it, literally go through it. Anything that pops up, like what's that, give it a little star next to it and clarify, you know, politely. And if it's to do with love, it could be mild conflict, like right about now. Know when to push and know when to back off, you get what I'm saying? Like, often the last word tastes like doo-doo. So if you're prepared to nyam the doo-doo, well then have the last word in it. If not, it might be where you need to just satire yourself and go, you know what, yeah, alright. You get what I'm saying? That's as long as your partner's treating you with respect and that. Like, don't allow anybody to take you for an idiot, but also allow your partner to have their space as well. Like, and if you're unattached, get out and mingle, and because things don't drop out the sky for yourself, you get what I mean? Like, you kind of look, but be prepared. Like, if you're chatty and the person that you're chatting to is chatty, it's like, then when does it become like, okay, looking for somebody for maybe possible dating, possible relationship, possible whatever? When does it go from that to just like a pissing contest? Like, yeah, know what you want and how to go about it. So basically that's the reading for this week. I mean, I know who need to hear this. For the full moon tomorrow in Scorpio, And this is another episode. Paul said good Sunday. Peace, goodie.